All right, join us now on Drive the Lane, Jamison Battle, who's got one of the sweetest setups we've ever seen on the pod. Welcome to the show, man.
No, appreciate you guys for having me. Blessed to be here.
Absolutely, man. We talked about it on our show before that you were supposed to be on, and it's our fault after the Minnesota game because I don't know if you know this or not, but you played at Minnesota and that was a whole big deal, and you played well and stuff. So this is a long time coming. We're happy to have you. Last guy we had on was Roddy, and you were in the background quickly, so it's kind of like this is your second appearance, but I'm sure Roddy told you a ton about the show and what to expect.
Oh yeah, no, he gave me a little update, a little heads up what's going on, so we're ready.
I love it. It's important to be ready. I'm going to hit you with a softball to start things off. You're playing some good basketball. The Buckeyes are looking good, but I don't care about any of that. I want to know the biggest difference between Minnesota and Ohio State. And you can take that whatever way you want it. It's just in your opinion. Could be school, could be the team, could be the food. Minnesota and Ohio State, biggest difference in the eyes of Jamison Battle.
Yeah, I would say, obviously Columbus, they have the Blue Jackets, they have the crew, but in the end, it's, Ohio State's the team. And I think being at Minnesota, and being from Minnesota, you got the Vikings, you got the Twins, you got the Timberwolves, and then obviously you have the Gophers as well. But, there's so many professional sports teams in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, where, you feel support, you feel supported by fans, but there's other, there's games going on, whether it's a Twins game, whether it's, a Vikings game, whether it's a Timberwolves game. So in that aspect, I just feel that you feel a lot more love because Ohio State is the main team here in Columbus. And I think that's something that, I knew about it and hearing about it, but it's eye-opening once you get here and understand that, Columbus is so invested in the Buckeyes and invested in Ohio State. And I think really, I think it was the first football game. We had a little tailgate outside the stadium, and then you're looking like, man, I'm biking to the stadium from my apartment, and you're feeling like, man, I can just feel there's a million people around here just all ready to go for this football game. So I think that's the biggest difference that I see. And obviously there's more differences, but I think the biggest one is just the aspect of that, you're Ohio State's team, it's nuts in that aspect.
It's definitely nuts, and something that I took for granted. I mean, I grew up an Ohio State fan, even being from Chicago. And I remember my first tailgate like it was yesterday, where, I made the decision to come here, obviously in a different, in a different world, in a different realm than you making a decision. But even having an expectation, I still was very overwhelmed. Right. And I do remember at either that first or second tailgate was when, we were introduced through Matt Moyer, which is pretty funny. He knows everybody.
Oh, that he does. Yes, he does.
It's literally, he's the mayor of Columbus, didn't even go to Ohio State. It's the craziest thing ever. But he, so shout out Matt. But what I found very, I don't know, a breath of fresh air when I talked with you was what your reason was for choosing Ohio State and why, you chose Ohio State over other places. And, it's been well documented. You've talked about it with other people. Obviously, I've even talked about it on the show, but in your own words, why Ohio State? Why now? What was the thought process behind it all?
Yeah, I think for me last year, I had a meeting with Coach Johnson at Minnesota, telling him basically, I'm ready. I'm done with college. I'm ready to go pro. And then after, a few weeks, after months passed, and then you're looking at like, man, like, I do have this fifth year because of COVID, and other people are talking to me, whether it was my family, whether it's people outside. It's, you're looking at like, you have this extra year. You didn't have a great year last year, so why not go out here and take this opportunity? And then for me, obviously in my 4 years of college, I haven't won, and I haven't been to the tournament. And I think that's the thing that was stuck in my head. It's obviously stuck in my head when you're sitting there in March watching all these teams play, and you're like, man, what am I going to tell my kids that I never played in March Madness? And, we're not there yet, but, I think we have a good chance this year. But I think for me, it was just about going out here and proving that I can get back to the level that I was before last year. And I think it was just about winning for me and choosing that, making that decision to come to Ohio State. I think that, I've gotten everything I wanted. I've been held to a standard that is pushing me to be at my best and get the best out of me. I'm with a bunch of guys, I tell everybody this, but, a bunch of young guys, I'm 22, but these guys on my team make me feel like I'm 20. And that's kind of what I love about it. And then I think just, obviously another thing is just getting a master's degree as well. And I think that's something that you don't want to take for granted just because the people you're meeting in classes, what you're getting out of classes, I'm doing sport coaching and just understanding that there's not a lot of degrees out here that, are so intricate in the fact that it's for high performing athletes. It's not just a coaching degree where you're going to go coach youth, but rather than, it's for people like who are trying to coach in college, who are trying to coach professionally. So I think that's a step I may take, not to say I want to coach, but I think getting a master's in that is helping. But I think the main thing for me was just understanding the 5th year. I tell people it was a luxury. And, I think, taking this luxury and playing at Ohio State now, and we're winning right now and I'm playing well, but there's still a lot of room to grow for us and a lot of things to work on. But I think, that was the basis of my decision, so.
You're definitely playing well, and it's fun to see. Maybe the biggest 3 you've ever hit in your career against UCLA. You drill a 3 from the top of the key. You made sure that Ohio State did not win their first game in 37 years or whatever it was without making a 3. Did any part of you, when you hit that 3, think, all right, thank God we didn't, go over from 3 this game, or were you 100% locked in, only focused on that singular moment?
No, I was really focused on the moment. That's kind of what I live by, is just staying present in the moment. But, I know we missed a lot of shots in that game, but I think the biggest thing is like, we got good looks. And, Coach Holtman talked about it after the game where we executed really well throughout that game and missed open shots. And then the one time we really don't execute, I know it passed to Zed, he fumbled it. And then it was, it was kind of a broken play. And then you go out and bang a 3. So, it felt good to hit that one, but there was still maybe like 40 seconds left, 50 seconds left. So in the end, we got the job done, which is great. And, we talked about it at the end of the game, like, man, we only hit 1 3, but, we got the job done in the end.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to, number one, winning ugly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's important in the Big Ten, whether it's at Minnesota or Ohio State. Like, you've won plenty of games ugly. Ohio State's won plenty of games ugly. The best teams win games ugly. That's just how it works. But they're within that element, which is exactly what Holtman has talked to you guys about a million times. It's, you got to win when you don't have your best stuff and when things aren't going right. And that was a great example of a team that shoots 40% from 3, making 1 single 3 the entire game. Yet you still win against, UCLA record wise is not, they're frankly not good. I don't know if you've seen what happened to them after they kind of, that's the classic Ohio State theme, which you'll catch on to. If you beat a good team, they'll lose the next game or 2. And if you're excited about playing Purdue, they'll lose right before they play Ohio State so that they don't have their letdown game against Ohio State. But that's just the world of Ohio State basketball, really. But back to 3-point shooting. The difference between last year's team and this year's team, among many things, has been the shooting. And whether it's because of you, whether it's because Bruce and Roddy are another year older and wiser, whatever it is, like, that was something that Coach Holtman had to address because there was a really bad shooting team last year. And now, adding guys like yourself, shooting around 40%, one of the best 3-point shooting teams, not only in the Big Ten, but the country. I was a shooter. Like, that's all I could do. That's all I knew how to do. I know the kind of pride that I had in shooting the basketball. I know you're much more than just a 3-point shooter, but how much pride do you have in your ability to, like last game, hit 4 or 5 threes from behind the arc and what you bring to the table that way?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm just trying to hunt shots and make shots. And, I kind of, it's not to say I get frustrated and miss shots, but it's like, man, like, I want to hit every shot, but granted, you can't do that. And I think what's funny about it is, I've been a shooter my whole life. I'll say that, but I don't remember taking my first 3-point shot until maybe 7th grade. Right. So like, that's what I think, my dad did for me, is understanding that, you got to perfect your form. You got to perfect your craft before you can step out and take threes. And, I could hit corner shot because I was a big man really when I was younger in travel basketball. Yeah. So you're stepping out corner shots and all that. But, I think the biggest thing for me is just understanding, what my shot is, and that, I perfected it. I kept working on it. And then when the time was right, my dad said, all right, you can shoot threes now. So I think that's
same thing I did, which is hilarious, right. but I was a point guard.
Right. So like, that's the thing. Like you see it now where a lot of kids are, shooting, I coached 3rd grade basketball 2 years ago, and you see these kids now, like, all they want to do is shoot threes. And I think that's kind of the way basketball has changed. But, for me, being in college, being in high school, like I've always been that shooter. And I've always taken pride in making shots and making big shots and taking those big shots, because in the end, like, to make those big shots, you got to take those shots and putting the reps in, putting the time in. You know, if you do that, there's no reason why you shouldn't be a confident shooter.
I think also something that I think is relevant is the fact that I think everybody, including myself, wanted you to shoot more from the get-go to start this year, because we knew what you brought to the table as, you know, the leading scorer on a Big Ten team coming into Ohio State. And there were games where, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an element of you, you know, maybe you were trying to fit in, figure out where you got shots, you know, what role you really had on this team, right? The emergence of guys like Bruce and Roddy, maybe quicker than anticipated, meant instead of shooting 7 threes a game, you were shooting 3 or 4 threes a game, at least from the beginning, right? And now everybody is much more comfortable, clearly. But was there an element of, you know, how do I fit in? Where do I fit in? Where are my shots getting at the beginning of the year versus now?
Yeah, I would say there's some of that, just kind of find your way, navigating through and understanding that. But I think the biggest thing for me is understanding that my teammates have the utmost confidence in me. And I think when you know that, there's no reason why you shouldn't shoot the shots you take. And then in the end, like, you know, there's even time last game against New Orleans where it's like I had a maybe shot at top of the key and Bruce is like, hey, shoot that. And it's like, all right, you know, I feel, you know, I have that support from my teammates just to go out here and shoot shots, because in the end, they've seen me do it and they've seen me put the time in, they've seen me put the work. And so why am I not shooting these shots? But like you said, it's about finding your role, obviously being a transfer, but in the end, you know, for where we want to go, like, it's not about all that. You know, we got to take care of business and players got to fill their roles and do their roles well. And I think that's something that we're starting to figure out. And I think in the end, you know, the sky's the limit for this team. And if we keep getting better every day, and I think that's the biggest thing, you know, we just got to keep getting better every day and not be satisfied. And I think that's the type of locker room we have, regardless if we are a little bit young. But, you know, me as a leader, me as a fifth year, understanding that, you know, is it's different because you got guys like Bruce, Roddy, you got guys like Fee, Zed, who have been here, right? So they know the Ohio State culture, whereas I'm a little different because I'm coming in as a fifth year, but I've played in the Big Ten for 2 years. So I kind of know things, and I've been in college for 4 years where I can tell these guys, you know, hey, this is what I've seen, this is what I've done. And they can have that two-way street to be like, hey, like, this is what we've done in the past last year. This is what we've done, you know, before. So it's like, that's kind of what I love about it. Just that constant dialogue we have as a team. Just, you know, there's no egos, there's nothing like that. Whereas like everyone's willing to learn and everyone's willing to listen. If someone calls you out, like, you're not doing well enough. And I think people are going to take that and run with it, because we're just a competitive group. You know, we talk a lot of trash in practice maybe, but you know, we get after it in practice. But once we're off that court, it's like a family, and we're always chatting, we're always talking, and we're always together. So it's a special group. And I think that's just the biggest thing. You got guys who are old, guys who are young, and you just got a great mix of guys.
So just like you have, you know, Roddy, Bruce, Zed, those guys would be like, this is what we did last year, etc. Do you talk to Dale and Evan, and are you like, hey, I've transferred before, this is the kind of stuff that happens, you know, when you first transfer, this is normal for you to be feeling this way or that way? Or do you have, you know, feelings of the first time transferring? Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different for my situation, just because what the role I stepped into at Minnesota was, you know, not to say I was the guy, but, you know, I played pretty well, and you could say that, but we had a bunch of older guys, right? And it was a new coaching staff coming in. So everyone was trying to figure it out themselves. And, you know, the coaches talk to us, and like, that's a different aspect that I have. But I think going into my freshman year in the A-10 and like talking to them as freshmen, being like, hey, like, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to, this is what you see. This is what you got to keep doing. So it's just stuff like that. Whereas sometimes there's dialogue like that. And I think we're always talking and we're always chatting about different things. But, you know, like I said, I think my situation was a little bit different for the first time transferring than now. But, you know, there's always things that we're talking about. Everyone's open ears and everyone wants to listen and wants to learn, because in the end, you know, you can't just do it by yourself. You got to have all these resources. You got to have people around you who support you and are going to help you. And I think that's, you know, what a bunch of these guys, like you mentioned, Dale, like, he's been through it at Baylor. He's been to the tournament. He's been where I want to get to. Evan last year made a big run with Penn State. He's been where I want to get to. So it's like I said, that two-way street of where you have this dialogue of like, what did you guys do? What did you guys do? It's like, oh, okay, this is what we did, you know, at my former schools. And like, okay, now I see, okay, you know, this is what it takes to win, and this is what it takes to do well.
So you've mentioned a few times you're a veteran. You know, it's your fifth year. You have experience in the Big Ten. Obviously, George Washington played non-con games, so you've played some big teams. Do you still get excited about, a West Virginia type game, a team that you don't see too often that has, some history in college basketball, or is it just another game on the schedule for you?
I think it depends on the situation. I think when you look at it, you look at a UCLA, you look at a West Virginia where they've done well, and you look at those games and you're like, all right, this is another opportunity to go show these people what we've been working on and what we want to accomplish. And I think there are different reasons to get hyped for different games. Obviously, for me, Minnesota, I got hyped for that game, just being the history, being playing there, knowing those guys. So that's another one. But playing in the Big Ten as well, there's never an off night in the Big Ten. And the way the league is top to bottom and how hard it is to win on the road, you're always getting up for games and you're always excited because in the end, like, this is the reason why you're going out here and playing. You want to be out here motivated. You want to be out here just playing your hardest. So regardless of the opponent, regardless of the team, we're always going to be happy to go out here just because we're so fortunate in this opportunity just to go out here and wear the block O. So it's exciting just to be out here and being able to play at Division I level, highest level, and one of the best conferences in the league in the Big Ten. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I mean, you're hyped for every game just because it's another opportunity, especially for me. Like you said, being a veteran, being a guy who's in his fifth year, this is all I got in college basketball. So I'm going to go out here and make the most of it, and hopefully play in the NCAA tournament one day.
I want to ask you about the prep going into the West Virginia game, but you made me think about another question that I think is really relevant to you, because in my 4 years, there were some places just because of scheduling, there's some place in the Big Ten that I only played at once. Minnesota, for example, I only played at one time. Some U of I only played at. Illinois, only played at one time. Is there any place in the Big Ten that you haven't been yet on the road?
No, I think I've been everywhere. I think I've been to Assembly Hall. I've only played there once. Been to Breslin once, because in the end, the stuff with Michigan State with the shooting last year, we actually had that game canceled, so we were supposed to go there. But I know we're going there this year. But I think I've been everywhere. We hit Illinois last year, so But yeah, like, to even go off your question, like, the best place to play in the Big Ten, like, that I have is, like, I think it goes in no order: Assembly Hall, Breslin, and honestly just those two. And then to add like a wild card, not Big Ten, one
Not
place.
Purdue.
Oh yeah, Purdue. We've been to Purdue. Yeah, Purdue's crazy. And it was
Purdue's number one for me.
Yeah, and to go back on it, like, that was our first Big Ten. That was the first Big Ten game last year. That was a December game last year, our first one. And I remember in there, it's like, man, like, you can't even hear yourself think. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So those three, and then the wild card I was going to talk about, like, being in the A10 is UD. Dayton's crazy, and especially in my freshman year, the one time I played there, that was the Obi Toppin and Jalen Crutcher, Trey. Like, that was a Final Four team if you really look at it. So that one was, and it was their senior night, and it was when they got the trophy presentation for winning the A10. So it was just it was a ruckus atmosphere in there.
Yeah, Dayton is insane. Dayton, me and Andrew have a long history with going to Dayton, so we like those guys down there. But I don't even care about the prep going into West Virginia as much as I'm curious about how terrible the first practice was back from Christmas. Did Holt just I picture him standing at the free throw line and saying, "Fellas, we're running not because you're in trouble, but because we just have to." Did he say that word for word or no?
Not word for word, but he's like, what? we're going to get moving tonight. We're going to get moving. We got back. I think I got back. Me and Taysom got back 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I want to say. And then we had practice lift 6, practice 7. So, it was a long night, but it's you got to get your win back coming back from Christmas. It's, you know how it is coming back those first 2 days. And, even today it's another grind, but we're just trying to get our win back and keep getting better. So
as long as you guys have the right mindset, because my 2 years were split down the middle. We had my freshman, sophomore year with Coach Mata, where the message was always the same. It was like, fellas, like, we're not trying to kill you guys. We're just trying to get you guys prepared and get your win back and stuff. But my teammates, my first 2 years, looked at it like it was the most ridiculous thing ever. And then my second 2 years, the guys were like, this is just what we do. Like, this is what it takes. We're just getting our win back. And we're going to have fun. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, we're playing basketball, whatever. And who would have thought that the second 2 years we were great and went to the tournament? The first 2 years we were fine, probably had better rosters, but that's different story for a different day. So, but neither here nor there. But that's good. It's good to hear that Coach Holt's not getting soft. I know he's not, but oh my God. between Q and Holt, man, oh my God, those Q used to I have more stories for a different day about Q, but like my senior year as a I mean, I was on scholarship, but I didn't play that much. Like I was, I had spot minutes here, spot minutes there, played in blowouts, whatever, right? Like, but I was not going to be a professional basketball player, and yet you know what Kalen and those guys are doing before games, an hour and a half before games.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous stuff. So at one point I had to tell Q, I was like, hey man, like I'm done. Like as long as I'm in shape, ready to play basketball, like you don't have to, there's no need to kill me anymore. Like I'm done. I'm out of here. Like, there's no prepping for any off season or anything, no maintaining. Like I'm done. Like the bod pod, I'm done. And he was like, you know what? You're right. You are done. So it was like after Christmas, like once we got into Big Ten play, him and the assistant strength coaches, I was like, God, like I walked out of one.
I know you just had to be exhausted.
We were about to play like Youngstown State. It's a game where I'm assuming I'm going to play like 6 minutes ish. Like I played a fair amount in these blowout games. Like if we were up 20 points with 10 minutes left, like I was starting to stretch a little bit, whatever. So we're playing Youngstown State, and Jake, love him to death, he's not anywhere near Ohio State anymore. I think he's with Wichita State women's basketball now. Jake, an assistant strength coach, has me doing this crazy war workout on the rower. I get off and my hands are bleeding. Like my hands are literally bleeding. And that's to the point where I was like, Q. Like,
let's wrap it up.
We got to chill, man. But anyway, this is about Jamison Battle, not about me. So Andrew, what you got fun questions for him or what?
Yeah. So Jamison, we put on Twitter, we're interviewing Jamison Battle right now. Do you have any questions? We got one serious from Twitter and then 2 fun questions, which will take us into the end of the interview. The serious one, and it's not even that serious, is, has playing with Bruce Thornton elevated your game? If so, how?
Yeah, I think, playing with a guy like Bruce, he elevates everyone around us just because of the way he works and the way he's prepared. He's always ready to go and he's always talking. And I think that's something that one of his very special qualities. And he's done that since day one that I've been here. And seeing that from a young guy, from a sophomore, and seeing what he's been through, especially last year, it's like, all right, we've all been through a little bit. Let's go out here and work for each other. And I think that's the mentality that he brings to this team and the way he plays on the floor. I mean, you guys see it. You guys are watching the games. But what he does is very unique, and what he does is unique to help this team. And I think playing with him obviously elevates my game, but it elevates everyone's game, and it elevates, our program at that.
All right, 2-part question coming up
next. I love that answer, by the way.
Great answer, yeah.
You know it. He's going to go down as one of the best point guards in Ohio State history when it's all said and done. It's pretty cool.
For sure.
But, all right, the next one, 2-part question.
Because you know so much about Ohio State basketball history, too.
All right, it's 2-part question. The first one is, can you please apologize to Buckeye Nation for the pain that you caused beating Ohio State last year?
Great question.
Minnesota. And then the follow-up to that was someone else's question. They have it on good authority that you guys went to Adriatico's Pizza after the win last year. Did you enjoy the pizza? Have you had it since? And did that factor into your decision to come to Ohio State, that pizza?
Yeah, I will. I'll apologize for that. I'm a Buckeye now, so my apologies for what happened last year. But I enjoyed it. Coming here and winning. It was one of our 2 Big Ten wins, so it's obviously good. You want to enjoy those wins, but I'm a Buckeye now, so I'll apologize. And then I don't know if we didn't actually go to Adriatico's. I think we got it delivered, but it was good pizza. And actually, I haven't been since. I've been to the dorms, been with the freshmen, been with the sophomores, but I haven't been back since.
It might reverse all the good stuff that's happened to Ohio State since.
Yeah,
so
don't go. You can't go. You can't.
Do not go.
All right, and the final Twitter question, probably the most important to you.
Wait, can I ask it, Andrew? Can I ask it?
Yeah, you got it pulled up?
I have it now. Yeah. First off, I guess it's kind of a 2-part question. I'm adding the first part. I'm assuming you're a Vikings fan, or at least casual.
Yeah,
okay.
I bleed. If you cut me open, it's purple and gold. I know that.
Look at his Twitter feed. It's all promo for Ohio State events and Vikings.
Skull. I'm a Bears fan, so it's okay. You guys are like
tough sledding.
But the question is, It's not even a question. It's a like a command of us, but it says,
Huh?
ask him if he thinks the Vikings make the playoffs, but more importantly, what he thinks they should do with the quarterback situation moving forward next year.
All right. I'm very, after every Vikings game, I'm on Reddit, Twitter, everything. So for me, I think you've seen what has happened. You've seen what has happened without Kirk. And what's crazy is I remember, I'm watching this game against the Packers. We get this pick, or it was a pick or a fumble. And then we come back next play, touchdown. I'm like, oh yeah, it's over. Like, we're the best team in the league by far after this. O-line's playing well. Defense is finally playing well. If you look at it, like week 7 through 14, defense was number 1 in points, something like that. But anyways, I text my boys. I'm like, yo, Kirk Cousins, he's an MVP right now. And then I'm like, O-line too. O-line's playing really well. Next play, we get on offense, boom, sack. And like I talked about Kirk being the MVP. Next possession, just blows his Achilles out. And I'm looking like,
oh,
I was devastated. I still haven't gotten over it because I know what we probably would have done this year. But so what I don't think he takes a team-friendly deal because he shouldn't have to. You see the impact that he has on this team. So anywhere between 30 and 35 is my guess. But I think 2 years, 60, 70, hopefully. And like people don't, this is the thing about Vikings fans. People don't understand, like they don't do the research like a lot of my friends and like hardcore fans do. Whereas like there's a reason why we got rid of Adam Thielen. There's a reason why we got rid of Kendrick Cook because it's dead hit money right now. But that's freeing up tons of cap in the next, not this next year, but the year after is when we have a lot of wiggle room. And, we have draft picks now. Kwesi hasn't had our GM. He hasn't had a lot to work with draft pick wise. Well, he's traded a little bit, but he hasn't had a lot to work with. So I think this is a draft that makes or breaks his tenure as GM. And then, the quarterback decision. Obviously, I think, like I said, you've seen the impact of Kirk. So I'm bringing him back for 2 years. And I think depending on what pick you get, depending on who's on the board, if you've done your research quarterback wise, you do take a quarterback, I think. But you let him sit behind Kirk. So I mean,
he's the perfect guy to have someone behind him.
Right. And I think that's what it's the shift that you've seen from Kirk Cousins from when Mike Zimmer was the coach to now Kevin O'Connell. It's night and day because I think Kevin O'Connell has wanted Kirk. Mike Zimmer, he didn't want Kirk. Rick Spielman brought Kirk in. And because we thought, we were a quarterback, we made the NFC Championship game with Case Keenum. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we needed a quarterback. Quarterback was a missing piece. So, I could talk about this all day, but yes, you bring Kirk back, you draft a quarterback, and then draft interior D line, maybe a little bit interior O line, and then probably DBs, backers. So, we'll.
Who he sounds like right now?
Who sound like?
Josh Perry.
No, you sound like Alec Lewis. Do you know who that is? Former guest.
You
of the
don't
show.
or do? Are you saying
I
like,
don't.
oh boy? Okay. Yeah. He's the beat writer for the Vikings. For the Athletic.
Is?
Yeah, and he's Andrew's really good friend and now my friend.
Yeah, you see, like I'm sure he knows his stuff, so he's we're on the same page, I bet.
Well, in your expert football opinion, do the Bears keep Fields or do they draft Caleb Williams?
Because in the end, it depends how much Fields asks for. If he asks for a lot, which he probably doesn't have the right to, you draft Caleb Williams because you got to think that window and how much cap you guys have right now. And, drafting a rookie quarterback.
What if they pay him Daniel Jones money? So not crazy, but
no. He doesn't even deserve Daniel Jones money with what he's done.
Whoa.
Am I crazy though? Daniel Jones only got paid because of the Vikings playoff last year because of Ed Donato. That is the only reason why he got paid.
But it's not about the player, it's about the market. And he deserves Daniel Jones money because of the market. That's true.
Does? You think he does?
Absolutely. Who would you rather have, him or Daniel Jones?
I mean, who's been to the playoffs? Daniel Jones has been to the playoffs now.
Okay, who's had 3 coaches in 3 years?
No, it hasn't been 3 coaches in 3 years.
I know, but not literally, but it's been different coaches.
You're arguing with the biggest football fan in the world right here, Jamison Battle. You're barking up the wrong tree.
I almost might just convince myself that whatever he says is right. I'm all in on our GM, so whatever he does.
Yeah, I think this is huge for Poles because Poles was a guy that we looked at too. So,
It's tough as a Bears and Buckeyes fan to not want Fields? Like, how could I?
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
I want Fields because he's been my quarterback for the last like 6 years.
And I
Like,
think with what he's done the past, 5-6 weeks, I mean, he's shown
playing great
promise.
football. He's
And
worthy of being a starting quarterback. It's about how much money.
do you think you even like, what if you just deal the pick? I think that's a possibility too.
I think you deal the pick and try and get the third or the fourth pick.
Right. And you're still
take
sitting
Mark
on a
Harrison.
top 10 pick too.
Right.
You see, like the Bears are set up well. I hate to say it as a division rival, but they're set up well.
There's
There's
nobody in the NFC. I mean, out of the teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, there's no team you'd rather be. But
what if the Vikings don't make the playoffs though?
You'd rather be the Vikings then.
Right.
I also have one last football related question, and Andrew can ask another one. You are the quarterback throwing the ball in at the end of games should you need to. I've known that from watching shoot around before the games that I call and stuff. And I know Holtman has all these intricate, they're not even that intricate, but sets depending on if there's 3, you need a 3, if whatever. I saw, and I pray to God that I'm right about this. You were going like this after you threw the pass. Please tell me you were doing the sketch stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I was sitting with students that I was calling the game with, and I was like, that is so funny. Did you guys see what he just did? Like, he is Andrew, do you know the guy that streams Madden who's all over TikTok who literally is like calling?
He's literally calling signals, like telling his guys what to do. Like, it's crazy.
And he's just audibling on Madden, and it's really funny. And he's really funny, and I feel like, I don't know. Clearly, there's something a little off about him, but no one's making fun of him. Everyone's
no.
Like team sketch, like he's the man. But he goes like this all the time, Andrew.
Yeah.
Like all the time. Like the whole time he's playing. And Jamison's running down the court doing that after he throws a pass like he's about to audible. And I was like dying laughing, and no one understood it. So I'm just glad that
Yeah. Me, Roddy, and Bruce, like, I know Roddy, he loves sketch. He's always talking about how, I'm the evil Mr. Beast. I don't give, I take. Yeah, but no, it's great. Like, I mean, you see a bunch of these TikToks and you're looking at sketch like, this kid's crazy. And the thing is, he's not like,
your whole feed is going to be him now.
And the thing is, like,
always listening.
He's not even good at Madden. He's not good either.
But he's so entertaining.
That's so the thing.
Special teams. What does he say? Special teams. Special players.
Special plays.
And his voice is like, he's like an announcer too. It's funny. Andrew, you'll love it. You will literally.
Oh, you'll be
send me his stuff. Send me his stuff.
You will love it. Andrew. You'll love him.
Yeah, send me his stuff. Jamison. By the way, that's a cool name. Jamison. Last thing I want to tell you.
You ever think about when you're shooting threes, they're Jamison shots?
No, I don't. Maybe I should think about it, huh?
Andrew, we haven't said that. That's a good one.
Well, that's a good pun on what I'm about to say. Hold on. I would like to say that I came up with Jamison Battle ready for war.
All right.
What do you think of that?
What do you think of that? I like it. You got to be ready.
We got to print the shirts. We got to print the shirts like that. And when the PA announcer, there's no way, you can't answer this question, but there's no way you like the Jamison Battle. There's no way.
I don't hear it, honestly. I don't really hear it. I know Gary's talked to me about it, but,
Because we hear it.
Joey, let's wrap it up how we always wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm sure Roddy prepped you for this, Jamison, and you have like Andrew said, you've got the best setup. Like, you already are a podcast host. I know you're going to be someday down the line, but what we like to do on every episode is finish the interview by essentially turning the tables on you and giving you your own show. So it's now the Jamison Battle Ready for War show, and you basically have the floor to ask whatever questions you have for us, whether they be about basketball, about football, about sketch, about life, anything. The floor is yours. What questions do you have for us?
Yeah. So to start, what is your guys' like, what was the inspiration of just starting the podcast? I've always been interested in just, how do you start? For me and my former roommate is like, how do we start this thing? And that's the question I have for you guys. Like, what were the things you did? What were the things you were thinking about just to get this thing up and running?
Andrew?
It's a fantastic question. I like to always say that we originally thought we were going to do like a little 3-episode series about when Joey played at Ohio State and who he talked to, who he met, who he now has relationships with that he was a huge fan of as a kid, like the Aaron Kraft and John Diebler and Jared Sullingers of the world. And we very quickly, we did that. And then instead of ending it at 3 episodes, we connected with some football players and just kind of started swimming around.
That we had something here.
Right.
Yeah. So we started hitting
kept it
all the
rolling.
different Ohio State avenues. We talk, some football during football season, but we really obviously hone in on basketball season. The advice I would give on how to start it is definitely have some sort of, this is what the show core is going to be about. Like if you listen to or watch or hear any good podcaster or YouTube or anything, if you peel back all the layers of the onion, there's always one thing that they're, really focused on in the end. I like to use Bill Simmons as an example. I don't know if you listen to him at all, but like
a little bit.
He started as a Boston guy and started as an NBA guy. When you strip his show down, he does gambling picks for football. He does all this stuff. At the end of the day, like he still plays his hits with the NBA. And that's why people are listening. And that's why people care about his other stuff. So I would say, if you do go down that path with your former roommate, like pick a lane to really drive that lane. And then you can swerve into other lanes as long as you get back to your lane.
And Andrew will produce it for you for free.
All right.
Not for free, but I will produce it.
That may be the best, most interesting question we've ever. People are always like, why podcasting? But like that was like a genuine, more of a genuine version of that. So we appreciate that.
Oh, for sure.
What else?
I got two more. So, give me your college football playoff picks, and then NBA Finals picks.
Funny enough, on this show, we will be talking about our college football playoff picks. And actually, as you're listening to this, you have already heard our college football playoff picks. But quickly, I've got Alabama versus Texas rematch. Alabama wins it all because that's just how the world works, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah.
If not Ohio State, it's Alabama. That's just like it's like that meme of the astronaut pointing at the world, and it's like that's Alabama winning the national championship. And it's like, yeah, it always is.
Always happens.
Always has been. Yeah.
What about NBA, Joey?
Oh yeah, NBA.
Knicks.
I want to say Knicks. If the Knicks trade for freaking KD, they might be, but no one's beating the Celtics in the East. And then I would say Nuggets. The Nuggets aren't playing that well. Phoenix is terrible right now. I feel like it's really a crapshoot in the West.
Right.
Like the Lakers stink right now. The Lakers stink. But I think the Suns will figure it out. So I'll say Celtics, Suns. Celtics win it all.
All right.
Ooh. All right. Super quick. I got Bama over Washington, and
which means Bama will definitely win it all if we're both saying that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go. I think the Lakers will make a move, and I'm never not gonna say the Lakers and LeBron, but I think the Lakers will make a move, and if they can get lucky and someone else can beat the Nuggets, then they can beat anyone.
Yeah.
So I'll go Lakers, Sixers in the finals. And I'm going to give you one more. I know you didn't ask it. Way too early, not way too early. Crazy Super Bowl prediction.
Bills.
Not the Bills. I said Bills preseason, but right now, Bucks, Browns, Super Bowl. The script has been written. Baker against the Browns in the Super Bowl. Baker against the Browns in the Super Bowl.
That's very hot.
He's a Browns fan.
Oh yeah, you guys are doing well. A little Joe Flacco magic going on. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how long it's gonna last, but it's working right now.
Are we getting the Minnesota accent out of you for some reason, or is this always?
That's just when I'm talking about football. Whenever the Vikings get mentioned, you hear a little bit of Minnesota out of me. You hear a little bit of Minnesota.
Wait, we need your picks. College football playoff.
Yeah.
All right.
NBA finals and Ohio State versus West Virginia.
I think Bama's going to win. I think I think, pretty handily. You can't give Nick Saban a month to prepare. Can't give Nick Saban a month to prepare.
Oh, Jim Harbaugh's interviewing for NFL jobs.
Right. And that other side, Washington, and then I got Bama. I mean, if Bama's in there, you know what's going on. So, and then NBA, I'm gonna go Nuggets, Celtics. I think Celtics win. I think they finally get over the hump. Just because in the end, like whenever the Heat make it, the Celtics always make it the next year. So it's gonna be Nuggets are gonna go back. I mean, they're good. You know, my friends always get on me about this. You know, I haven't been a Wolves fan in a while just because of some outside circumstances, but I think the Wolves are playing well. I watched them a couple nights ago. They lost to the Thunder last night, but there were 2 nights ago where I'm like, man, this team down the stretch, like defensively, I mean, there's no other team that can defend like them. So I think they do legit have a chance this year. And I'm saying that as someone who, you know, I'm not a Wolves fan. Like my friends call me a little Wolves hater, and it's crazy because I'm Minnesota everything, but you know, I'll admit to it. And then Super Bowl picks, man, this one's tough. You know, am I going to be, you know, I'll be real. Vikings, will we make the playoffs? If we win this week against the Packers, yes. Because in the end, I think we are better. I think we are better than Detroit. I'll admit that. But you got to think, we had our left tackle. We had so many guys out that we lost to Detroit, and we still only had them, what? They won by 6. Anyways, from the NFC, man, I don't know. NFC, I'll just go.
Bucks.
I'll say the Niners.
Bucks.
No, the Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Baker is dialed in. I won't lie, but I'll go Cowboys. Actually, I'll go Cowboys. America's team. You know, I just think if they catch the 49ers again, but then again, 49ers at Levi Stadium's tough ask. And then I got Ravens on the other side. The way they just dismantled the 49ers and the brand of football that they play. I mean, there's no team better than them. And the discredit that they get. And what I saw Lamar do to Fred Warner, who's probably the best back in the league, I'm like, yeah, this team is legit. So I'll go Ravens, Cowboys, Super Bowl. But the one thing is, I will say, I think the Bills will make the AFC Championship game. I think the Bills will make the AFC.
If they make the playoffs, they're
running the table, because you got to think, like, if they'll probably be a 6 or 7, and Ravens probably beat Miami this week. Ravens take the 1 seed. They don't have to
play the Ravens until the AFC Championship.
Right. So it depends on if Miami gets the 2 and has to play Buffalo at the 7. That's scary. Playing that team 3 times, that's very scary. But I mean, Miami finally beat a team over 500. So don't believe their hype, but I believe if the Bills can get hot, I mean, they could run the table. They really could. And that's crazy because we talk about like how their window is basically closed. But in the end, like, it could work out for them even better by not having these home games, by not being the top seed in the AFC. So, you know, we'll see. But I'm still going to stay strong with the Ravens. Ravens win it all too.
I love it. Do you have one? You have one more question for us?
No, that's it. No.
Okay. All right. Andrew, you good?
Jamison.
Usually Andrew thinks of more questions after we both.
No, this was more than enough. You nailed it. Thank you so much. This has been
appreciate you guys.
A fun episode. You're welcome back on the show anytime, right after the Bucks and the Browns play in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there.
All right, man. We appreciate you. This was a blast, and we'll have to have you on.
Oh, for sure.
Some point in Big Ten play.
Yeah. No, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you for having me on.
Awesome, man. Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.
Sir.